Hey, good morning, YouTube. Looks like we're live. We'll see if we can kick this pig down the road a little bit. How's everybody doing? Tuesday morning, correct? Hopefully. Hey, hope everybody's having a good morning. Got your coffee lined up, or whatever your beverage of choice is, I guess. I guess it depends on what you're trying to accomplish on a Tuesday morning. Hope everybody's doing good. Looks like you got that rain continuing east. Starting to clear up here. Looks like we're going to dry out in our area. We avoided any big showers yesterday, it looked like. So, time to get some more work in if we can manage. But yeah, that's hitting hard up there in the Northeast, coming as it came out of the Midwest yesterday. In the South, it's raining. Nothing new there. It's all good. Hey, good morning, Walter Davis. How you doing? And Barry, how's it going, Barry Wood? It's like, yeah, we're high and dry up here, hot and sunny. I think we better get used to it, right? So what the summer has in store for us. So that's your view for the morning weather, it looks like. Pretty straightforward. Haven't seen any tornado warnings or anything, but they do have a little red patch down there in North Texas, Oklahoma. So this probably has potential, especially in the afternoons. But first, starting off with the article here that we kind of touched on an issue a couple weeks ago or last week. We were talking about rip currents and that Lake Michigan. Somebody commented that Lake Michigan had rip currents. Maybe it was Caretaker or somebody. And maybe it was RPD Survival. I can't remember. ZPD Survival. I never get that right. But then I saw this article about meteo tsunamis on Lake Michigan, and there were 2 in one day. I was like, that's pretty interesting, considering we were just talking about rip currents. Considering it makes sense that those are large, they're inland seas, basically, and that they have tsunami as well, not just, predicting one. I've seen the predictions for tsunamis on Lake Tahoe, which is much, much smaller than Lake Michigan. But these are caused by the weather, apparently.
Caused by weather. With a regular tsunami, generally you'll have a big earthquake underwater in an ocean, and you get this humongous wave that can come in and just completely bury an entire coastline or big cities and things like that. With meteo tsunamis, which we had a couple of, by the way, on Sunday in Lake Michigan, the general idea is you have storms that are moving across the lake, and you get a big change in pressure as the storms are rolling across. And the brighter colors on this map are showing how high the water is, by the way. And you can see not only one meteo tsunami there, but there were actually 2 as the storms moved across Lake Michigan. So very, very interesting stuff. Now, I mentioned these are very different than real tsunamis, caused by different things, different scale. They can be similar in some ways. They can be dangerous, but this is generally what you would see in a meteo tsunami. Some of the roads and sidewalks get briefly covered up. It's nothing like what we saw in Japan a couple of years ago, but very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I would compare it more to a storm surge if it's weather related, like a storm surge from a hurricane. A hurricane brings in the ocean level, brings it up as it moves inland. It's a similar effect, much smaller still. But I don't know that I've ever heard it called a meteo tsunami. But that just reinforces that anytime you're near a body of water like that, they do strange and unusual things. Like I was talking about the tsunami effect on Lake Tahoe, there's potential for an earthquake on one part of the lake, collapses the underneath, some of the earth moves, and it causes a tsunami, which, based upon the video I've seen and like similar projections, it basically wipes out the entire basin area there at Lake Tahoe. And there's even, I think, a potential where the water actually comes out like a bathtub out into the Carson, Reno, depending on where it goes, area, like big time flooding and stuff. But I guess it just depends. But if there was an earthquake or something like that on Lake Michigan, I wonder what that would look like, what it would take, how their potential for that is, because that would be a huge tsunami, like Chicago. Would Chicago survive something like that? If they have the potential, I don't know how the earthquakes work up there, but I just had a thought. It was all based upon that discussion we had on rip currents a couple weeks ago. And apparently there's been plenty of them, and deaths accounted to these meteo tsunamis. So when the weather's bad around the Great Lakes, get to high ground. And several dotted as red deaths in here, injuries, damages, etc. So it's not completely rare. But you don't hear about it. But I guess maybe if you live there, you do. Just we don't, because we don't live there. So that was really interesting. And that link's in your description box below for you to check out. And I guess to giving you some of the interesting effects. The wave starts up here, and you see it reverberate and get worse on the second iteration. It bounces off into the red, and that's almost a half-foot wave trough, which is tiny, but it is still organized in one moving wave. Very interesting. And if you can multiply that by 5 times, that would be a bigger tsunami, of course. So your interesting science weather tidbit for the day. We can all say we learned something. Not totally lost. Not totally lost in the chat today. Hey, Walker, good morning. How you doing? Salt cavern collapses. Is that right, Walter? Is that yeah, Walker, I don't think anybody in Illinois wants to see Chicago stay around too long. Get rid of them sooner rather than later, right? And Detroit, you think Detroit will get taken out as well on the other side there, Walter, if there was on the other side of the Great Lakes event? I guess it could be interesting. So another item, wanted to check up on the Hawaiian volcano situation. There have been growing fissures, I guess, and there's still high probability of they call a steam event.
The danger around Hawaii's Kilauea volcano is growing by the hour. Another crack opened in the earth today, sending more lava to the surface, and now more homes are threatened. David Begno is on the Big Island.
Kilauea's latest and ever more aggressive eruptions are both mesmerizing and concerning to emergency officials in Hawaii. Since the explosive series of eruptions began earlier this month, more than 36 homes have been destroyed. And even as lava flows harden, new fissures are emerging, some 1,000 feet long. The lava keeps inching toward a main highway in Lower Puna, potentially trapping 2,000 residents who could soon be forced to flee, joining the 1,800 already evacuated and now in shelters. Hawaiians like Miley Orion Collins say they accept the danger.
We live here because we love it, and we know that part of the life is that we live on an active volcano.
For now, hundreds of homes still standing are inaccessible.
The threat of toxic sulfur dioxide remains real, so people are being told to wear these respirators just like this, but these are hard to find on the island right now.
My biggest concern is people putting masks on that don't fit them properly. They will have a false sense of security. If they get hit with a plume, it could be overwhelming.
That didn't stop this man.
This is Demian Barrios, lava chaser.
Who put himself in harm's way just to live stream.
Whoa! Incoming!
As fiery lava debris mixed with toxic gas spewed all around. These fissures are popping up almost daily. We're standing on hardened lava, looking in the distance about 1.5 miles is one of the newest fissures. There's lava flowing from there toward the ocean. If that big steam explosion happens at the core of the volcano, it will send boulders the size of cows flying into the air, but people don't live there. It's the ash cloud that could travel tens of miles that is the real concern. Jeff.
David Begnaud, thank you.
Okay, so that's interesting update. Didn't know we were having volcano chasers out there running down lava and whatnot. That's why you talk about preparedness. Get your respirator now. Don't wait until the volcano goes up. I guess they got a link to this Demian Barrios live streaming on Facebook, I guess. I don't guess it'd be interesting to see if there's any guys on YouTube running around out there. That'd be an interesting live stream to catch. Somebody take a rock upside the head. So that is continuing to grow. Like we said when it first started, you don't know when it's going to end or how bad it's going to get. It could just be just the beginning. So those things we just don't know enough about it. Yeah, this guy's life expectancy might be on the short end if he doesn't have enough sense about lava and volcanoes he's just out there running with the camera and doesn't really understand the animal. He's going to get bit. So some more pictures and video there as well on that article in your description box. Yeah, they said that a couple dozen homes have been destroyed by now, so people looking for new places to live. It didn't update the evacuation number. The last I heard, the evacuation number was like at 2,500, I think. So there's that update. Yeah, Walker, a lick of sense. Well, tornado chasers usually have like some weather science behind them, like they know what they're doing. I don't think this guy knows what he's doing. He's gonna rise up and volcano's gonna open up right below him if he doesn't watch out. Hey, good morning, caregiver. How you doing? Truth Freeze, how you doing this morning? Energy pulse from east coast to west through Midway. What's Midway? I don't understand your point there. Only thing I can think of is Midway Island, and that's off Hawaii, so that would be an odd route. I don't think that's what you mean. All right. Finally, what I got pulled up was the Treasury data coming off of CNBC. They say they have all this great economic data, and except for Home Depot, I guess. But 10-year yield is up again off of this, what they consider strong economic data, which raises the concern I've posted on G Plus a couple times this week or in the last week about the yield curve and how what you get for a 30-year Treasury note is almost equal to a 10-year, basically giving no incentive to invest for the future. One way people put this is the 10-year note is like a savings rate, encouraging people to save for the future. But with inflation, how can people spend the money to save? So the rates go up, continuing to try to get people to buy bonds and try to entice that little savings amount, and also fund the future, of course. But the Treasury note getting close to the 30-year from the 10-year. Last night, I think there was only 13 basis points separating the two, and that's always been a clear sign of a collapsing economy in the past, where the flattened yield curve, as they call it, causes issues. What was that article? Or that number? Can't remember if it was 0.13 basis points or... Yeah, 13. It was in the 10-year last, this is from yesterday, was 2.99. Now it's up to 3.03. So they've closed that gap even more, depending on where the 30-year is at, which they won't talk about in here usually, and could cause problem. Oh, there it is. The 30-year Treasury bond also went higher for a miracle, 3.156. So it went up quite a bit as well. So they do have that separation to a certain extent. That's a big thing to watch. And there's all the rates, yeah. As you can see, the 10-year still closed the gap overnight by 3 thousandths of a point, closer, more so than the 30. So still flattening, as they would say. So that article's in your description box. Here's the biggest takeaway. The Federal Reserve, tasked with keeping inflation around 2%, fail, considers pricing data when deciding whether to increase the benchmark federal funds rate. Despite a narrow CPI, Consumer Price Index, miss last week, the Fed's preferred inflation metric is now near the central bank's target. Well, as they always say, if the Fed get what it wants, they're going to raise rates. It means these bond rates are going to go higher. It's going to cost more to borrow money, slowing the economy, which has not really took off. I mean, it's going, but it's not like it's in free fall, in just free for all mode either. Inflation's out of control, like we talked about in real estate, but where else can you find it? It just seems like the big money is finally coming out from all the bailouts and everything, that the big money's getting spent, but the little guys, the average person, doesn't have a whole lot different. And the Dow's down and everything else. Yay. So that's about what I had, folks, for the day. What's going on out there? Morning, M. Long. How you doing? Yeah, I don't know that the Hawaiians ever sacrificed virgins. Was that something that I don't think Pele worked that way? I think that was more of an Aztec thing, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, true. Saw the unbanned sports gaming, but there's tons of states that are going to implement their own sports gambling ban. I don't think Nevada is going to be out of its prime position with everything that's already got set up. We'll see how far that really matters. You'll probably have about 20 states that allow sports gambling, but really, as long as everybody gets their March Madness brackets filled out, what else do people gamble on? I mean, you can do so much of it through Vegas from home. It's not that big of an impact, I don't think. Just your office pool won't be illegal anymore. But I'm sure people here, the casinos in Nevada, are going to be nervous until it all shakes out and they can figure out if they're still going to make a living or not. And they're now reporting 60 dead out of that madness we looked at yesterday in Gaza and the Jerusalem protest, as they called it. They don't have much on the gambling side. I don't see. The friendly skies don't seem so friendly anymore. There's an article on a Southwest emergency flight, a naked man rampaging through an Alaskan Airlines jet, and a Chinese pilot sucked halfway out of the cockpit. It's strange times to be flying. Yeah, I think, Walker, that's people that have just too much money. They should just give it to us and call it good. In some respects, it's entertaining, I guess. I shouldn't say. I guess it depends what you're doing. I never understood slot machines where you just sit there, but I can understand playing cards. It feels like you're at least having some chance of using some sort of skill, especially poker. But just throw your money into a machine that you just pull. They didn't pull a slot handle anymore. They just push a button. It's almost all digital now too, and it's just like you're sitting on a computer at home. You're just losing money instead. Does it say a plane? I don't know if it said a window fell out or see. This says the cabin started losing pressure. Just outside of Dallas. Spokesman for is is the joke of the day. A spokesman for Southwest said there were no major injuries, but paramedics did arrive to treat some passengers for ear pain in an email response. The spokesperson called the landing uneventful, but passengers on board said that's not the case. When you're in there at 20,000 feet above the ground and don't know what's going on, it's not uneventful. Yeah, that might be the understatement. If you're not the one flying the plane, it seems pretty eventful. Doesn't say what caused the decompression of the cabin. Everybody's masks came down and everything. It looks like lots of fun there. Is there some? Is that Google workers are protesting artificial intelligence Department of Defense work? There's AI doing Department of Defense work for them. They're losing their jobs to the Skynet. Yeah, people joke around about the whole Skynet thing, but people need to realize there is a tipping point to where AI takes over. You seriously got to consider what's going to happen. It's a no joke. It's just a simple, I guess, math equation of at what point does AI reach that point of self-awareness. I mean, it's a logical conclusion. It's not like science fiction. Now, whether or not it decides to go nuclear on the human race, that's a different question. But it is a point to where it does take over and lead its own way. It doesn't have to be ambivalent about the whole thing either. So that's about it for my Newsday, folks. Thanks for joining. Thanks for checking in. Have a good day. We'll try to hold it down around here. We'll come back and see you tomorrow, hopefully. Live free.